Okay. We live. Not really, because it's a recording.
That's my we live bit.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. It's Kiki Carol. It says Kiana Kid at screen. That is my given name. And Asha is with me.
Hi.
And I was just about to say that I've been waiting 2 days to talk to you about this on here. And then I even took notes on my phone because I feel like sometimes when you talk about serious things, you you don't want in the moment to forget
Yeah.
like different things that you really wanted to highlight, but also there has to be like a level of eloquence to it, right? Just because how often do important words get mistaken for aggressive words? So let's just
Don't
throw it
even
out
get
there
me
too.
started on that.
I know, I know. But I think that some people, I think a lot of people in my orbit, I don't want to say in my circle because my circle's tight, but in my orbit, right? I think that a lot of people will probably be like, oh damn, Kiana just like wanted to talk about current events on her podcast or put that on her social media because I mean obviously I have opinions on politics, I have opinions on religion, I have opinions on the happenings of America, but I mean I say that for face-to-face conversation. I don't usually use social media for that, but I think that certain things happen, and then even yourself personally, you have to come out of your comfort zone and do something that you're not used to doing to convey just like where you stand on something, and also to just put it out there because awareness is everything, especially with what's been going on over the past, I want to say, weeks now, because it did not just start with what's been going on in Minnesota. But like I said, I think that some people think I wouldn't have an opinion, but surprise, surprise, I am black and I do. So look, I feel like it's very convenient. I know I have the luxury by being biracial that most people assume I'm something, but don't quite know what I am. And so it's very easy for them to forget that I'm black and that the things that happen to my black brothers and sisters do affect me to the core. That they also choose not to see that I'm black. So I think that my experiences of racism would obviously be different than your experiences of racism, but nonetheless, they've happened. And being who I am, I just feel like in case you forgot, I'll throw it out there. So then that way, as I proceed with this conversation, you could not be so shocked. Uh, I don't know. I think what's interesting is I'm not a person who normally gets angry. I leave that to other people. I choose to try
I was gonna say
my best.
something.
Oh, no, that's different. That's different. You know what happens with
He's
change.
not allowed to
Oh,
vote.
no, no. What happens between fiancés and whatnot. But I think I, for me to get angry, it takes a lot, right? So I'm gonna just say that for me to get angry it takes a lot. And then when I do get angry, just run. Okay, you don't need to be in the room. It's fine. Just run. But I think that the way I've been feeling over the past couple of weeks, and it started building for me, I think when videos about Ahmad started coming out, right? It started kind of festering, and it started like bringing back some childhood memories, some insecurities, all of that. Um, it would sit there, right? And so John and we talk about these things. And when that happened, I just felt like that was something that you couldn't watch that as a human and not see what was going on there. And so it's out of my comfort zone or out of my norm to post anything about anything like that. But I just felt the need, like I needed it to be seen and shared, and more awareness, because the wrongness of that was like no question, like that it was a modern day lynching. So the just the evil in that video, like you need to see that for yourself to believe it, and it's horrific to see it, but you need to know that this is still out there. And I normally don't share posts like that, but there was just no way around it, right? And so just as a mom, you think about what your kid is going to grow up into. And I think I would start having slews of nightmares, just like anxiety nightmares and things. And I think, the fears that mothers have in general about their children, that's strong. And we will never stop worrying about our kids. But people don't understand what it's like for Black mothers. And being around that all of my life, I've seen that anxiety, and I've seen just that level of like sheer panic and horror every time they leave, when they exit their home. But what happened with Ahmad, I think, oh God, because it was his birthday was Mother's Day, and his mother was gonna have to, and that was like right after, and his mother was gonna have to spend that day without him. And it's literally like, what, he was 26, 26 or so. I just feel like, well, he's too young, but all those years of her worrying about her son leaving and never coming home actually came to fruition. And I just think as mothers, we always worry about those things, but really in the grand scheme of things, the reality of that being your life are lower for half the population than they are for the other half of the population. But just really thinking about her, it would get me worked up, right? It got me really worked up, and I was internalizing it. And then the the I don't even know what you call it, because it's murder of
That's what you call it.
George Floyd happened. And in all honesty, I really I shared what I saw about Ahmad, and I really internalized that. And yeah, I spoke to John about it. I speak to my mom about it. And my mom always says, as somebody who's white, I will never understand, and I will never pretend to understand. I can only sympathize. I've never been in that position in my life. However, there's no way that I can't see what's going on here, and not know without a doubt that that's wrong. And so, like she's been for all of my life, whatever you're feeling, I'll never understand that, whatever like pulls and anguish you have, but just you let me know what you need. And in the meantime, I'm talking about it, I'm aware of it, I'm sharing about it, I see it, I don't agree with it, I'm making it known that I don't, right? And so I've always had that from her, and I really appreciate that. And I have that from John too. And it's difficult, I think, for him. He grew up in an area where there's not a lot of color, but it's not difficult for him in the sense to be told what you're seeing. It's just confrontational conversations in general is something that he struggles with. But he understands this is something that I need to talk about, and he sees this wrong. He brings it to my attention. We have these discussions, and he's there for me in that same way that my mom is, not being able to understand, but wanting to help in any way possible, and just wanting it to be known that they see. And it's funny how having those people near you can expose with such great brightness whose behavior is not aligned with that.
Yeah.
Right. So then when what happened to George Floyd happened, right? I mean, people want to rationalize all day long what happened with Ahmaud, and I don't understand it. But when something like what happened with George Floyd happened, and all of the video, and all of the evidence, and you don't even need the evidence, right? Like everything that you see tells you what that this is. I hate to say black and white, but this is not a gray area matter, right? This man was murdered. I think it's naive, it's just plain ignorant to say that if that could have happened to anybody else but George. I mean, it could have happened to any other black man. But to say that it doesn't have anything to do with race or whatnot is beyond me. I just feel like when that happened, right? I guess I didn't really expect to see so many people in my orbit really fully understand what they were watching, which I should have, what they were watching with Amon. Pieces coming out months afterwards, this is stories coming in, out, whatever. I guess in that moment, if I look back in retrospect, I wasn't really expecting to see a bunch of people in my orbit posting about that or whatnot. And I felt the need to repost and share so that they would see it, because I wasn't even sure if they were aware what was going on, right? But when what happened with George Floyd happened, I did. I 100% did expect to see every person in my orbit. I don't care if you're I have a very eclectic orbit, right? I don't care who you are.
Interesting.
Well, because I don't throw the term friend around or family around loosely. There are plenty of people that I'm good acquaintances with. Like I may work with you, I may have gone to school with you, but do I call you friend? I feel like there's work that goes into that. There's work that goes into being friends, and then there's friends that have put in so much work that you are family, right? So I say orbit because in my circle, you've done work and you've given me what I've given you, and that's a whole other level that all the other people that think that they know me or are around me, who want to be my friend or think that they may even be my friend, I'm not calling you that unless you're in my circle, right? So I say in my orbit there's a lot of people, and I genuinely believed that when those videos and information came out about George Floyd, that I would see so much, right? And I'll tell you why. Because I see so much. Okay, I'm gonna have to put some sort of like PSA on this, because when I get upset, I cuss. I apologize to my mother every single time. I'm like, because I do not condone cussing to your mother. I don't. But I'm PSA. There will be some words, but the I see so much shit on my social media about politics, about state of affairs in America, about health in the pandemic, about how far we've come and how far yet we still have to go. I've seen so many people spend so much time commenting on the damn Tiger King, right? Okay. So when I see this all day long, because I'm a looker, I get on social media to really look. I don't actually post a lot. I really don't. It's something to fill the void of time, right? I'm looking through there. I look at the pictures. I'm more on Instagram. I don't really get on Facebook. I don't do Twitter, tweeting. I'm not a bird. I don't do that. I have one. I don't even know how to use it. But I see that so much, right? And that would be my orbit. Facebook, social media. If we're Facebook friends, if we're Instagram friends, whatnot, you're in my orbit. At some point, our paths have crossed. Like, you are a part of my memory bank of life, right? So I see this so much all over my social media. And as a day goes by, another day goes by, and it's like all other American events are on your pages, but this one were crickets. I found myself getting very angry, very angry, taking it very personally, right? And I think that, the people in my circle have talked to me. How do you feel? Like, how's it going? How's it going? How do you feel? How, like, where you at today? Because, John's checking in on me every day. I've been having these nightmares and I can't get over it. But I think that part of what it is I just need to vent my frustrations over this situation and just say the things that, like, if I could write it down, I could, but I don't have the time to write a novel, you know? So I think that the best way is to hear it from my own voice. And I think that most of the time, these conversations, these serious conversations, or these conversations about racism in America, I have with you because we have an understanding of honesty and openness, and we have a like-minded view on things that are going on. And I think the same things that frustrate me frustrate you as well. I just think it blows my mind that you could say that you care about somebody of color, or you could say that you're a friend of somebody of color, or you could say that you're family of somebody of color, right? But in a time where our people are being killed for no reason, it doesn't cross your mind to send a text, to make a phone call, to reshare a post, to like a post, to comment on a post, when I could just see you out there all day long commenting on everything else. I didn't know it was a big deal whether you like Flipper Flopper Property Brothers, but it's not a big deal that a man was murdered in cold blood on the street. I haven't been that worked up or that angry, just with my mind reeling on different thoughts, in a long time. And I'll tell you what, I was thinking about this and I was talking to my mom about it. And after I got off the phone with her, I thought the last time I felt this outraged at the people in my orbit was I was probably like 22, 23. And my stepbrother had been basically lured into a bar by a white woman and then beaten up by her family members to the point of unconsciousness and left for dead. And I remember being the only one calm enough at his visual that when the news team came, I remember my stepdad specifically asking me to speak. And I don't even think I said more than like 20 seconds worth of words. Because what do you say that isn't apparent in the situation? Like, what do you say that shows people how wrong this is and how racially motivated this was? I feel like, why do I have to explain it to you? Why do I have to share? And I think that sometimes when you have trauma, it comes back around. It can be triggered, even if you pray on it, you forgive, you move on, you talk through it, you therapy, whatever. I think that it comes back in little moments. And I just think that I keep thinking back to that and how that was not even 10 years ago and nothing's changed. And how frustrating must that be, for somebody who's like 91, my grandmother's 91, not changed, still happening, still needing to be explained, still needing to be debated, still needing to put my hand out and ask you to come and help me, right? And so I really, I don't know, this could end up being a podcast where we just talk in circles, because I feel like that's what I've been doing for the past couple of days. It's just been going around in circles, over the same topics because it dumbfounds me, it angers me, it saddens me, and I keep waiting for different results and I don't see them. And so you and I have had this discussion about it not being your place, my place, any other Black person's place to educate someone on what we are looking for, or what we are hoping the people who call themselves our friends and family would be doing right now without being prompted by us to do. But somehow it just kind of seems that they still need that. And so after we talked, I saw that you had posted basically
Oh.
what help,
For
right?
people who seem to be confused right now, yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to share what you said?
Um, sure. I'd say first, I think, what you mentioned about it being not like the word place is difference between like I think it is our place to educate people. It's not our job. And I need everybody I need everybody to understand that it's not our job to educate you. If you want to be a better human, you need to do the work, read a book. They're all over the place. Read an article. You can read books on your phone now. Like read a book. Read a book, watch some articles, watch some speeches, do something. But like it's not our job to educate people. But I
I
do
do think, let
it's
me throw this out there too, because I think that, and you and I have talked about this, I think that in a world that we're living in right now of instant gratification, I think that that adds to my annoyance and my level of frustration when people seem like they don't know what to do. I feel like you would take initiative if you wanted to know more about when this Met Gala is going to take place, on what day, how can I get tickets, whatnot. Oh, you start clicking away, right? You're going to click on that hashtag, you're going to follow that post, you're going to read all the content here, you're going to sign up for emails with a click of a finger, right? Google is your friend. Google is your friend and you use it for everything else.
yeah.
But when it comes to this, I don't know. I don't know where to start. It starts with a click.
Yeah.
Click
I
on
think
something and then read.
I think, for me during this whole situation, I've gotten to a place that as a Black person, I will no longer tolerate excuses. And I will no longer, I think in my regular life, I often say I don't keep friends that I find to be fake. I don't keep friends that I find to be disingenuine. Like I don't have those people around me. I've sifted those people out. There seems to be a final wave that needs to be done, right? And that wave is the people who have, either A, their life has currently been, and this is, touching on like the post that I made, either A, their life has currently been regularly scheduled programming, or B, they made a single post and did their due diligence of like reposting a single thing or the video or someone's, activism of some sort. And then they went back to regularly scheduled programming. And, as a Black person, we're not afforded that luxury. And so when people are confused, when you use the word privilege, and I think maybe, and this, I mean, who knows? We just shooting things out there. Maybe as a people, we agree to change the word from privilege, since it seems to make people cry white tears. Since people cry and get all sensitive when you say the word privilege, which me personally, I don't really understand why that's such a soft point, because when I was growing up, like I knew that like the neighborhood we lived in, we were in a couple of our neighborhoods we lived in, we were the only Black people. And I was taught, I knew that I was privileged. I knew that, because my parents at the time made however much money. And so I don't know when this word became like something that we cry about. right? It wasn't until it was called white privilege that the word now it's now we're crying white tears over white privilege. It's like, no, it's just a thing to be recognized. It's like, stop
Mm-hmm.
running away from it, stop denying it, like acknowledge it, accept it, embrace it, now use it positively. That's
Right.
all Black people are asking for. That's all the Black community is asking for. We're not asking you to not have privilege, because at the end of the day, and it was interesting because the pastor was saying it earlier, was, at the end of the day, the privilege is not necessarily, you didn't ask for the privilege. We're not saying that you asked for the privilege and you gave yourself
Right.
the privilege. We're simply saying to acknowledge that it exists, because a lot of the times the privilege didn't come from you. The privilege came from this society that was set up to give you the privilege. Like it was given to you by society, because this is how the society was built. It was literally built on Black people being lesser than. That was absolutely what the country was built on. So let's not ignore that, and let's embrace the truth, and let's stop lying to ourselves and acknowledge that privilege happens. So I mean, maybe as a people we change the word so people will start accepting it and stop denying it, because for some reason it hits a soft point, but whatever. More importantly, to me, if you were able to make a single post, you posted a single thing, you did your due diligence, and then you went back to regularly scheduled programming, you actually are exercising your privilege in that moment. Because as Black people, I cannot remove this skin. This is here. And to be honest, this skin is great. I love it, okay? I love this skin. The only people who have ever made me hate my skin are the people who are out here killing us in the streets. The people who have made me run from my skin are the people who are out here thinking that I don't belong in a building because I'm Black. And so for some reason, God forbid, my family live there, right? And so I think, unfortunately, we can't just turn it off and say, well, back to regularly scheduled programming. What's going on with COVID? We can't do that, because
Mm-hmm.
we are Black. And this is the skin that I'm always going to be walking around in. And so your thoughts and feelings about what I am and who I am are going to be there regardless. I can't turn it off. So the people I've observed that have made their single post, did their due diligence, and gone back to regularly scheduled programming, I just need them to know that that is an exercise of your privilege in the undesired way. Now, there's a lot of people that I know who are allies. And, this word ally needs to be, clarified for people. You're not an ally if you make a single post. You're
Right.
not an ally if you have not checked on your Black friends, because they are grieving and hurting and crying and confused and feeling unworthy, feeling like they're less than, feeling like they're inhuman, because we're being treated like we're not human, right? So they're not okay right now. And so if you claim to be an ally or claim to love a Black person, and you have not reached out and you have not checked on them to make sure that they're okay, okay, to each their own. I can't speak for every Black person, but me, Asha, I can speak for me.
Right.
If I ain't heard from you, and you claim to know my heart and who I am as a person and what cuts me deep and what hurts me deep to my core and how deeply I carry things and how passionate I am about my community and the world and myself, if you claim to love me and know all those things about me and I haven't heard from you, you're going to be in this final wave of cutoffs, right? So there's
You
that.
know, well, so let's talk about that, because I feel like, we live in New York. For people who forgot, because I haven't podcasted in a minute, we live in New York. Okay. So, my phone blows up, as I'm sure that yours does too, because everything seems to go down in New York. Right. So, oh goodness. When the pandemic started and whatnot, I've never had so many text messages and DMs. And also, by the way, if you are somebody who is on my Facebook and you try and message me through Messenger, I don't have that. I feel like that's how you get hacked. I see the little plus signs that are going on. I'm alive, but I will not open that. Okay. That's why I have a cell phone. But I think that I'm sure, know this as well. People watch the news. Every time something comes up on the news about New York City, I get a text message. I get a text message about Are you okay? Are you safe? Just wanted to check in, wanted to make sure that like that's not happening in your neighborhood. Everything good? How's the family? Right? Every single time. So, you know, I'd be lying if I said it didn't surprise me whatsoever. Let's put aside the fact that I felt the way that I felt about what I should be seeing from people in my orbit, right? Now I know people watch the news, and I know it's all over your feed, so you see it. So I know that you are aware of the protests that have been happening around the United States because of what happened to George Floyd. And I am aware because my mother and I talked about it. So obviously it's playing in the Ohio news. So I'm sure it's playing in other news places as well, right? So if you have a TV or if you have social media, you've probably seen it, that there were protests and marches yesterday. And there was some rioting and there was police brutality and all these things were happening. And that's in my neighborhood, right? So where is my check-in text? Where is my check-in phone call? Hey, are you safe? Are you okay? How are you feeling? Like not even then. Not even then. Okay, so this is a blanketed item. This is the one topic where you choose to bite your tongue. And this is the one topic that shows me the most how you truly feel and how you truly care and what the level of care is that you actually have for me. So I found that interesting. Just want to point that out. Continue.
Yeah, I mean, it's scary. To me, it's scary. It's scary to know that you love me, but you would allow my brother to be dead in the street. I'm just confused. I'm confused as to how that's reality in someone's mind. And so I'm going to make it easier for everyone. And I'm just going to make the decision for them. You think you love me, but you don't. And so, therefore, I'm not going to continue to associate with you because that is me condoning foolishness, tomfoolery. So yeah, if I think, unfortunately for Black people, we cannot return to regularly scheduled, well, we can, but our regularly scheduled programming is fear, is, feeling unworthy, is tears, is tragedy, is crying, is, watching another video of another Black person being killed for literally no reason, sitting on their couch in their living room and being killed for no reason in their own home. So that's regularly scheduled programming for us. And if people don't understand that, then they are a privileged person. If they are not living that reality, they are privileged, and that is just the fact of the matter. And I don't want people to argue that with me because it is literally fact. It's just fact. You're worrying about COVID-19 right now, and that's totally fine. Like, I totally understand that. I'm worried about COVID-19 too. However, I'm worried about COVID-19 and the police breaking down my door and killing me on my couch, like Brianna. So there's that. So I think, yesterday I was really trying to be constructive and give people actual tangible things to do in case they were confused. Because at the same time, there are people who are genuinely not aware of what they can do right now. And to me, that's not an excuse to not say anything at all, because you can ask questions.
Right.
Any questions, I'm down, that's fine. But there are people who are genuinely unaware of what to do. And so I think that big picture, if you want to just look big picture and like think of how to live your life from going like now and going forward, it's from now and henceforth, hold yourself and the people who are around you accountable to taking action, right? Because no longer is talking about it doing anything. I mean, well, never has talking about it done anything. Action needs to be taken. And it's that way with everything. You can't, it's like us finding out that COVID-19 was a thing. And then we all just was out here in these streets having parties, sneezing on each other, hugging each other, literally not making any change in what was going on. That is literally the equivalent of you just talking about racism in America and being like, oh, this person was killed, like that sucks, and then moving on with your life, right? Because you are actually through that, you're allowing it to continue, right? Action needs to be taken. And so one, exercising, you like more granular, you need to exercise your alliance by, like, there are actual tangible things you can do. There's a number you can call and demand the arrest of the men who literally murdered George Floyd in the streets. You can, like, we did it with Ahmaud.
Right.
Now, let me not get started on the justice system and the fact that the amount of time that's being served is nowhere near the amount of time that's usually served for killing somebody in the streets. But, you know, that's a subject for later. We need to demand that these people are arrested. That's number one. Number two is having a conversation. Not having a conversation with Black people, not forcing Black people to continue to relive the trauma that we just saw and the trauma that we are continuing to see, that we've been living since we were literally born into this world. But having conversations with your non-Black friends, the people around you, your family who might not know, your friends that might live in sheltered communities and they don't realize that Black people exist and that Black people can be successful and can be and are good and they are humans, they're not doggies. And so we don't just, you know, kick them to the curb when we feel like they no longer serve us.
Right.
Having conversations with non-Black people, and whether they be your friends or whether you just overhear some racist foolishness happening, it is your responsibility as an ally of the Black community to say something, to do something, okay? Because I'm sorry, I mean, at the end of the day, what are you afraid of? What are they gonna do? They're gonna slap you? I mean, hopefully we're grown and they're not doing that out here anymore, because like, what? But like, say something. Say something.
Yeah.
If you truly believe you are an ally of the Black community, if you truly have people in your life that are Black and that you love them, then you should be defending them when they're not around, because a lot of these conversations and things are happening when we're not around.
Right.
And because they can't say that to my face. Then check on your Black folks, okay? I cannot say it enough. A post is not checking on people, right? And I don't really understand why people don't understand the word grief. The word grief means that you lost somebody, and you're allowed to feel grief and mourn that loss. And usually, I don't know, when my cat back home passed away, when my, you know, like when someone in your life, your grandma, whoever passes away, usually people are like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. How are you feeling? Oh, how are you doing today? You know?
Yeah.
For some reason, this is not the case right now, right? And people think that reposting a video of someone who could be my, you know, cousin's brother's friend is going to suffice as you checking on me and making sure that I'm okay and
Well,
I'm
you
not
know,
losing my dang ever loving mind. But, you know,
I feel like I
thing.
can't help but notice, you know, when I think about it, because, you know, I'm an observant person. So when I start to get angry and I start to take this really personally, and I start to look around and I'm like, no, you don't care to ask how are you doing. I try and think about similar instances and what are the reactions, right? Like sometimes you go back in your mind and you're like, do I do this for you in instances of like that? And because you don't do that for me. I'm like, no, I do. Because if, say that you are a teacher, right? You're a teacher and you are working at home from pandemic and school has been pretty much not normal. You don't know when you're going back. You don't know what your new normal for school is going to be like. Pretty sure if I know a teacher, I have called you and I have asked, how is your new normal going? This is a part of who you are. This is a part of your life. It's a drastic change. It can be a whirlwind, right? Like, how are you doing? Say that there is a massacre, like, okay, the shootings in Miami at the gay club. If there's anybody that I know that could be seriously grieving from that, I'm pretty sure I've checked in when that was going on to see, are you okay? Do you need a break? Even if you were somebody that I worked with, are you all right? Like, if you need to take the day off, like, and checking in on you to make sure that you're okay, because that's a part of who you are, and that has affected you deeply, I'm sure, because I think that even if I didn't know anybody that was there, an attack on your people, I'm pretty sure you have some feelings about that, right? Same way if something were to happen, heaven forbid, for somebody in the military, or a group of militants or whatnot, right? Like I have a brother-in-law who's in the military. Anything like, I would be calling my sister right away. Like, are you guys okay? Like, even if it had nothing to do with his unit or anything like that, right? So I just feel like, why, when any other trauma that happens, right, you would you would feel compelled to naturally repost or send a text message or call somebody, or maybe you didn't initially go there because you weren't sure if they wanted to have some time or some space or whatnot. So then the next time that natural conversation happened, you took that opportunity to be like, so how are you doing? I've seen the news. I don't know, like, how you feel about that, what's going on. That would be your normal course of action. How is it that with every other major event or trauma, that is the normal course of action? But this one, we just act like we didn't even watch the news. Like, I forgot your number. Oh, I was out there painting and I just lost track of time. I really thought, oh, I gotta call this person. And somehow all the other important things of the day just crept in. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I think a lot of people, some people are confused. And like after I posted what I posted, I started hearing from people, and it's because I think people I don't think people put two and two together. People
Yeah.
are not realizing how painful this is. And I think that a big piece of that is the media, is the fact that, for example, Ahmaud happened like 2 months before we actually heard about it. Breonna happened like 2 months before we actually heard about it. And it's because these things are happening in lag time, that I almost feel like some people are not realizing how painful they are for the Black community. And then when it happened for George Floyd, I feel like we kind of found out about it right after it happened. This was a little more like, it was a lot more like in our face right in that moment, but it also had the ramp up of Breonna, of Ahmaud,
Right.
obviously happened. So now we were on top of that mountain. Like, we were mad. Everybody, we was,
Right.
and we are. And I think that people just, I really feel like people have been so wrapped up, and that's goes back to the privilege thing. It's like being able to be wrapped up in everything else and not having to be confronted with this very real thing that's going on. And like, unfortunately, because the media fails us regularly, the media fails us on what we're seeing. And even if we see it, it's warped. It's somehow painting a picture that makes the Black person the problem or the criminal, and no longer the victim of literal murder. And so I think that because of the media and the skewed visions that what we're seeing is skewed. And then the fact that the Black community feels like we shouldn't have to educate everyone. Somewhere in there is a gray area where people are not connecting the fact that these people could very well be our family. Like, as a community, we grieve together. And I also think that there's also the chance that different cultures are different. Like, everybody is different. Different people have different cultures. So maybe because I don't there's like, I think that certain, I'm Caribbean. My family's Jamaican. If something happens in Jamaica, there's a tragedy in Jamaica, or there's a tragedy with a Jamaican figurehead or something, a public figure that we all know, as a community, Jamaican people will grieve, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I think as a community, Black people grieve about these things when they happen. And I cannot speak for white people because I don't
Mm-hmm.
really see things happening that way in the white community. And so I'm like, I'm just, this is like psychologically looking at it. People are not putting two and two together, that this major issue and major tragedy could be causing my friend to be depressed in bed right now and sad and crying. For some reason, it's not connecting for some people, and that to me is emotional immaturity. I don't really feel like, if you're someone who's emotionally immature, like you would be able to ignore that and not see that that's an
Right.
issue. I think that's emotional immaturity. And so like, I think that is, probably what's happening. It's that, and it's also the side of things where it's like some people are literally in denial that this is a problem. Like just straight up denial. Neither of those things do I want in my group of friends.
Right.
Neither of them. Neither. I don't have any interest in those things as because at this point in my life, especially if these things are going to continue to happen, I don't have the energy. I'm worried about COVID. I'm worried about being Black in America. I don't have the energy. I'm worried about my cats. Got to worry about my cats getting COVID. Jesus Lord. And, I don't have the time or energy to also have to reach out to you and tell you that I'm hurting and I'm grieving. I don't have the time and energy to teach you how to be a human being in these times and when these things happen. So you can be friends with somebody else, but you just can't be my friend. I just ain't got time for that. I don't got no time for that. And so I just think, if you take the time to post your avocado toast, which who the heck cares about your stupid avocado toast? If you got time to post movie tickets, if you got time to post what else these people be posting, they like, workout challenges. I don't know. If you got time for that, do you have time to post what is going on right now? If not, to actually get on camera and say something. If not, to actually call up all your white friends and make sure that they're aware. If not to do that, the very least you can do, because everybody has a different platform. Not everybody has a platform necessarily.
Right.
Whatever platform you hold, you are responsible. With a platform comes responsibility. I sing at church. With that platform comes responsibility. If I'm going to lead the church in worship, I have to do my research. I have to make sure I'm actually doing my word. I need to be in the word during the week. I need to be in the word before I lead worship, because how I'm just going to go out there and have absolutely no knowledge of what's supposed to go on. With a platform comes responsibility. And I think some people are not realizing that your social media is your platform.
It's your
If you
platform.
don't hold it in high regard, and if you don't use it to its utmost ability, if you don't use it for good, what good are you? You need to be shut down. It's trash. I really wish I was the head of Instagram and Twitter and Facebook right now, because I'd be just deleting accounts. Like, oh, it's been 24 hours. I ain't seen nothing. Delete. They're gonna be like,
okay.
what happened to my account?
You weren't using it properly.
We're using it with utmost.
No, so we had talked about this the other day too. This is what I don't want to see. Okay, so yes, we're saying that you have the time, if you have the time to reshare one of your memories on Facebook, right? Or if you have the time to Insta story your new post about your avocado toast, we're going to stick with that one. Then you have the time to share a post.
Bread, that's a good one. People be here making bread, quarantine bread.
Right? You made yourself a loaf of banana bread, okay? I did it too. It's fine. I did it too. You made yourself a loaf of banana bread, and you want to post about how that actually works. You succumb to doing what all this quarantine hack stuff is. Okay. We're saying that one of the things that you could do as a stepping stone, not as a end all be all, but as the first step in what you could do, is to spread some awareness by using your social media platforms to continue to make this conversation, right? Because it's not something like, look, talking doesn't solve anything, but not talking about it can kill something. And this is not something that can be swept under the rug. It needs to be talked about it until we develop the actions that need to be taken. So then the actions can have change result. You can share a post, right? And if you don't know the words, this is a great thing about social media, right? Like if you don't know the words, I don't know how I want to express that I'm not okay with this. There's about 50 million posts out there that you can just click and reshare, right? So that being said, this is what I don't want to see, because this is some of the stuff that really like has just fired me up, right? Because I noticed the same thing that you noticed after you, because we have a lot of the same friends. And on social media, you can have friends that you don't even actually know because you have a mutual friend, right? So after you posted that, I saw some of the same things, right? People that I hadn't seen. Because you're not the only person posting that, right? You're not the only person sharing those thoughts and putting that out there, right? There's a lot of people who right now, though it's not their job, are educating people on what to do next, right? And so they're speaking out on this, and you see people that are reposting things, right? So this is what I've seen come out of some of the reposts, and these are, in my opinion, unacceptable reposts. Okay. So what I don't want to see is when you have not commented on the cause, do not comment on the effect. If you have not commented or shared your thoughts on what happened with George Floyd, do not comment on looting and rioting that's currently happening and protests and marches that are currently happening, right? Let's not just jump to what reactionary state we are in without actually giving due attention to why these things are happening, right? So to me, unacceptable. Second thing I don't want to see, there's a lot of hashtag Black Lives Matter, hashtag George Floyd, hashtag, no justice. All these things are on there, right? The proper response or the proper show of camaraderie is not to post all lives matter. Okay? That infuriates me to no end. And I'll say this. There's so many examples, but this is the one that I read this one yesterday, and I was like, if that ain't the nail on the head, if that ain't the nail on the damn head, okay? Saying to somebody in response to Black Lives Matter, saying to somebody who is Black, saying to the world, I don't care if you're saying it to somebody who's Black or not, when you see something that says Black Lives Matter, and then you in response to that put all lives matter, right? You know what that is equivalent to? This is the best way I feel like I can put it in layman's terms. All right. I read this yesterday and I thought this was perfect. House is on fire. You call the firefighters and they come to put out the fire. They pour water on every house around the fire. The house is on fire. Is that solving the problem? No, because nobody said those other houses weren't important. Nobody said those other houses weren't important. But the one that's on fire needs your attention. So that to me, also not acceptable. Okay. That I don't read that and feel like you support me. I don't read that and feel like you support this movement. I don't feel like you read that and you understand what's actually going on. I don't find that to be true acknowledgement. I just don't, So, and then like you said, I've seen posts, one, and then nothing else, There's just so much going on. I'll see a post about after somebody's told you that you should post, right? I see a post and then the post is fairly ambiguous, right? And then the news happens and more information comes out, and the rest of us who are out here making phone calls and sending text messages and are on the email chain, so we're getting daily updates on what's going on with each one of these situations, right? Not just George Floyd, but each one of these situations, right? Every single day this is in our feed, and every single day we're sharing things, and every single day this is what John and I talk about, coffee in the morning, every single day, right? This is now the daily phone call that I have with my mother every single day, right? I'm sure at some point my fingers are going to be tired about texting it back and forth, but it is a part of my everyday, right? So then what is also not acceptable is what you already touched on. When I see one post, one ambiguous post, and then the world continues on and this continues to grow and continues to need more and more attention and more action, and I see nothing else. And I think that it is completely delusional to think that at this time that your Black friends aren't paying attention to you. I think to think that forever, if it's not your normal course of action to really be boned up on your social media, right? Um, that you not sharing your thoughts on this is going unnoticed, or enough time will pass and it will be forgotten that I didn't see anything, right? I feel like you're delusional if you are sitting in that bubble and you think that it's not being seen and that it will be forgotten that it was not seen. And if you don't realize that that is like literally this much of all of this that you could be doing, right? And if that is something that you struggle with, if social media is not your thing, it's not an excuse, because we all have cell phones, we all have email. There are conversations that can be had. You can talk. I mean, you can go and stand outside my building. I'll put my mask on. We can have a conversation right now. That's fine. Like, I may not be able to be right next to you on the couch, but we can still have a conversation. So the things that you, and not you and I, but the things that people may be sitting at home telling themselves as excuses for why it is okay and why it will be forgiven and forgotten that you did not stand up, step out, say something. You are delusional to think that what you are telling yourself as an excuse is actually going to have merit. I don't understand where the logic comes from. But, oh goodness.
I think, on the subject of posting things, something that came up yesterday, a friend of mine, love her to death, and I really appreciated the fact that she reached out and asked the question instead of just, continuing to be ignorant about it. But someone let her know that she shouldn't continue to post the video of the cop with his knee on George's neck. And she didn't really understand why that would be the case. Like, especially, we're asking for people to raise awareness. We're asking people to continue to have this, subject on their tongue and like it to continue to be talked about. And so she was just trying to figure out like exactly what is the reason. And I think people need to know, people need to understand what's behind that when you hear it. And I think the easiest way for me to explain it is, let's say your mom just died, right? And her funeral has passed, and you're doing everything in your power to continue to go to work, continue to go about your daily life, continue to love on people, continue to stay at peace, continue to not be angry, continue to go about, your daily motions and like make ends meet and live life, not in a sad and depressed and traumatic place. And so, and then imagine that someone who's close to you continues to show you a photo of your mom in her casket.
Mm-hmm.
Who does that? No one
Yeah.
does, right? Let's talk about the root of the issue. Let's get down to the root of systemic racism. Let's get down to why that cop felt so comfortable to be sitting there blank faced with his knee in this man's neck. Let's not continue to make Black people rewatch their brother die in the street. That is an issue, and it needs to stop. And people need to know why people are on edge and don't want to continue to see the video posted. So, if you internally want to share the video with someone who's never seen it, they haven't,
Right.
they have no
They
idea
don't
what's going
know.
on. You want to make sure they're aware of what's happening. Your non-Black friends, because trust me, all of the Black community has seen it. So I can
Know exactly what happened.
you don't need to show us again. But like, do that on your own. Do
Preface it. And preface it. Look, I'm showing you this.
Responsible narrative around it and what is going on. But we don't need to continue to see, you don't need to continue to post it. And that's the reason why, is it's you know, PTSD to a degree, like people being reminded of this trauma over and over and over and over again. It's disgusting, and no one wants that. And so it's literally reminding us of our unworthiness to the United States. It's literally reminding us of, you know, the fact that there is no justice system for Black people. It's a reminder that this country has failed us and allowed us to be killed in the streets. It's a reminder that there is no contract between Black people and the United States of America. There is no contract between the police. As a matter of fact, the police are not here to protect and serve us as Black people. It's a reminder of all of those things. And so when you hear people saying to stop reposting it, that is where it's coming from. And I just want to make sure that that's out there and that that's said, because when we're saying to repost, when we're saying to post what's going on, when we're saying to say something, that's not what we mean. We don't mean to keep reposting that video. Please do not keep reposting that video. I don't think I could watch it again. So that would be really, really, really cool. And then I think, to your point, posting in general, I think you can continue to post your bread. You can continue to post. You can continue to post, you know,
Put that toast up.
in the park. I'm not saying that you cannot post those things. It was part of my post yesterday. What I was saying is, you know, was first, action your alliance by demanding the arrest of these people. 2, have conversations with your non-Black friends and educate them on, you educate yourself and then educate them on what's going on and the fact that systemic racism is still happening in the United States. And you cannot tell Black people to A, go back to Africa, or B, to forget about it because it's so far in the past. Because I'm sorry, Tina Turner is still alive and she was on the plantation. Just wanted to let y'all know. 3 is to check on your Black and brown friends personally and stop posting thinking that negates you checking on the fact that they might be grieving and depressed and broken right now. And then the last thing that I put there is, just as a starting point, jumping off point, is a 30-day challenge. Is if you claim to be an ally, if you claim to love a Black person or Black people in general, if you claim to love all people, if all lives truly do matter to you, then you need to make sure that in the mix of your banana bread posts and in the mix of your workouts for the day and the mix of your favorite TikToks that you're posting, you're also posting a minimum of once per day for the next 30 days that something about the fact that systemic racism is alive and well in the United States of America. Because the more that people get to deny that fact is real, the more that people get to deny that is the reality, is exactly what's wrong with the country. Is that this has been an issue from day uno. But what has been happening is people have been ignoring it. People have been literally compartmentalizing it into the back of their brain and going on with their daily lives and thinking more about banana bread during the quarantine than somebody busting down their door and shooting them on the couch. So because we've been allowed, people have been allowed to ignore that fact, that has perpetuated this to continue to grow, to fester, to become a bigger and bigger disease at the root of American history and American present day. So if you let the conversation die, if you're no longer talking about it, if it's no longer on our tongue, if we're not confronted with it on our phones when we go onto our social media platforms, then you're allowed to forget about it. And I'm sorry, but we're at a point where we can no longer afford that luxury. We cannot forget about this. We cannot stop talking about it. It needs to be a conversation. And if you're a white person, who is an ally of the Black community, you have a responsibility, because your Instagram and your Facebook and your Twitter, I'm pretty sure there's a whole lot of white people probably on there, probably more than what's on mine. I'm not gonna say I don't have white people on mine, but there's white people on yours, and there's a lot. Your family included, your friends from your childhood included. And if they're not seeing it, if they're not confronted, let's say that there's somebody who has completely ignored what's going on, they have they do not care, they don't want to see it. You, being an ally of the Black community, are literally confronting them with this issue. And even if they want to deny it, even if they want to continue to deny that it's happening, they can't say they didn't see it. You saw it. you know? And so there's a lot of things that are like that in our lives. Like you can continue to deny that it's a thing, but it's gonna, the more like it's showing up. So
Right.
you have to, you're digesting it. And even if you try to click past it, you saw it, you know, you can't say you didn't see it. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is all, that's all that people can do is continue to use their voice, continue to use their platform. And I implore people to do it more than 30 days, but this is just a starting challenge. You know, 30 days is like the number, whole 30, you know, let's call it Black 30. How about that? Black Lives Matter 30, Black 30. Since people do the whole 30 all the time and I got to see all those posts, I got to be with, I have to be in your whole 30 with you all 30 days. You're going to be in this Black community in this protest, okay, for 30 days at least. I'm just, we got to be with you for the rest of your 30-day challenges. So how about you subject your followers, you confront your followers with something about systemic racism every single day, minimum of one post. That's it. That's all I'm asking, right? But it should be a conversation every day, because if it's not, we're just allowing it to happen. We cannot allow it to happen. And in regards to the riots and not the riots, the protests, and yeah, I'm just protests. I'm not going to call it all the other words that they've been calling it, because there's two things I would like.
I could go off on a whole tangent about antagonists.
Yeah.
Okay, I could go off on a whole tangent about antagonists. So
that could be a whole separate podcast. But the first thing is to stay woke, stay aware of the fact that multiple things have happened that we have heard about. Again, mind you, the media controls all of this. So think about the fact that we didn't hear about Ahmaud, we didn't hear about Breonna until 2 months after. How was that allowed to happen? How did none of that leak? How did we not hear anything about this until 2 months later? That shows you how much power the media has to spin a narrative in the direction, whatever direction they want it or need it to go. And I'm not, it goes higher than the media. Who controls the media? Like, come on, we all know. But like, at the end of the day, stay woke. Do not allow yourself to just believe that it's all Black people in these streets out here setting things on fire and all this stuff, right? That's part one of what I have to say, right? I've seen many, many videos of white people, okay, white people destroying things, looting things, and Black people literally screaming
at the top of their lungs
because they're going to say we are doing this, and it's not actually the case. So that's part one of what I'm saying. And then part two is in regards to the protests is I just want people to imagine, because I've imagined it many times throughout my life. I have a little brother, right? He's not a big brother. He's my little brother. He's my only younger sibling. I feel very responsible for him. And he is a Black man out in the world on his own. He's over 18. He's out in the world on his own. He is a Black man with dreads walking around. And all he wants to do is be great. All he wants to do is be great in a country that is not for him, right? And at the end of the day, to know that my little brother could have a cop's knee on his neck and be begging and pleading for my mom, and nothing stops that cop from literally taking the life from his body. I sit before you. I'm sitting. I can't say I'm standing. I sit before you and tell you I will spend the rest of my life in jail if that ever happened to my little brother. So when you see people who have lived through all the things we've lived through as Black people leading up to this exact point and wonder why they're so angry, I'm not sure why people are so confused. I'm not sure why people don't for a moment step outside of their body and put themselves in the shoes. You don't even gotta put yourself in somebody else's shoes. You just put yourself in your own shoes. Imagine someone you love, one of your family members, someone in your immediate family being killed for no reason. You know for a fact that they screamed and begged and pleaded for their life. Not to mention it's on video and the entire world has seen it. Like, I'm just curious to know how people would react if that was someone in their family, someone they were close to, someone they were related to, and I'm just confused as to why People are
Mm-hmm.
confused about the anger. Um, and, grief manifests itself in so many different ways, right? There's, you could be sad, you could be in denial, but you can also be angry. And there are a lot of people who are angry right now. And I just wish people would stop um, minimizing that anger. I wish people would stop making it seem like people have no reason to be angry. I wish people would stop making it seem like people are angry and it's because they're bad people. We're angry because we're black, or we're angry because we're overreacting. We're angry because we are making this bigger than it is. We're angry because there's something inherently wrong with us. There's a lot of things I've heard at this point, and I just really implore people to imagine that that was someone in your family with the cop's knee on their neck. And I just don't know how many Karens would just be like, oh, that's fine. No, you'd be asking to speak to the manager of the police department. And I don't want to
Mm-hmm.
hear nothing otherwise. And that's the crazy thing. It's like, they be mad. Listen, Kiana, we worked in retail for how long? I was in retail for 10 years, okay? I was a manager for 9 of those years, more than 9 of those years. And if I have $1 for every Karen I saw that got mad because we didn't have their size in the store and threw a damn fit over us not having their size in the store, but you mean to tell me that if a Karen had her brother killed by the police in the streets for all to see on the internets and interwebs, they would just be like, it was the police doing their job. No, you would be asking to see the manager of God, okay? You would be asking to see the manager of the universe, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to freaking hear anything otherwise. So when you see people
No,
out
it's
here
true.
lighting things on fire, I'm sorry, but if it was my little brother, people will be getting lit on fire. I don't know what to tell you. I would arrest the cops my damn self. And it's grief. It's what people are hurting right now. People are literally have lived their lives. I'm not going to say how old I am, but I've lived many, many years feeling like I am inferior to white people. Literally living our lives feeling like we're inferior to white people. And you want us to just be like, it's fine. The cop was probably had a bad day. He had a bad day. His coffee wasn't his right order. It's fine. It's fine. You got to be actually kidding me right now. Like, that has to be an actual joke, and I have to be getting punked that people are not understanding the anger that's out there.
Yeah.
These are humans that you are dealing with, not science experiments, not robots. These are humans who are reacting humanly to hurt and pain and being told they're inferior. And it's pretty simple, really.
And I think to piggyback off of that, in all honesty, God, I wish I had some wine right now. I'm just over here drinking my water, really wishing I was lit. Okay, but what I will say is this, is that to piggyback off of that, I think it's so unfathomable, right? How you could not take a beat. Like, for us, it's so unfathomable how you could not take a beat and just think, what if that was my brother, my husband, my whatever, right? But then I remind myself that it's actually not unfathomable, because when I grew up, when you grew up, when we were growing up in our families, and we're subjected to these things around us, you know, you have no problem thinking about that way for other races, because it's something that could happen in your own family. You have a level of compassion for other people that doesn't seem to be matched coming back. I just think it's really sad, I feel, that you have to ask how you could not take 5 seconds and just think if the shoe was on the other foot, because I could not imagine not thinking in reverse if the shoe was on the other foot. But then again, also when Ahmad is running down the street, I'm sorry, he looks like my cousin. He looks like my cousin Kyle running down the street. And that really just kind of messes me up. What if I got that phone call? You know, if you see this man with a knee on his neck, you know, that could be my brother being targeted all over again. And would he survive it this time? You know, I have no problem in a situation of trauma thinking for just 5 seconds, like, this is not my culture, this is not my race, these are not my brothers and sisters in that sense. I have no problem taking 5 seconds and looking and wondering if the shoe was on the other foot, if I might react the same way that they do. But when you just walk around and that's just never been something you have to think about, how nice is that? Like, that's just something you never had to think about. Never ever. So it is fathomable that you just are sitting there and don't know that you could take 5 seconds before you judge and react to what you see as people react to, from their grief.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I wonder what would happen if that was me.
And the crazy thing is people have done much more for much less. White people have done much more for much less. I was watching a TikTok video the other day. I don't remember who it was, who did it, but like, she literally she went back, like, she found video of multiple instances in multiple states across the United States of America where
I know who you're talking about.
Rioted and looted because their baseball team
lost because their basketball team won the game. Because their basketball team won the game. That was
like, how can you tell me that people have not done much more for much less? Like, I'm sorry, but those people had zero reason to be freaking looting and setting things on fire. That don't even make no dang sense, okay? And it don't make no sense. Your team won and you're setting things on fire? Who does that? But whatever. Now, there's a direct attack on my people. Mm-hmm. And you want to tell me I'm just supposed to sit in my house and be like, okay. No, people, let's just be realistic about things. Because, and also, being peaceful has gotten us where we are right now. Not talking about it, being peaceful, peacefully protesting and all this crap, that has gotten us right where we are right now. People, not knowing what the hell is going on. People being allowed to live in their comfortable worlds and not be confronted with what's really happening every single day in the hearts and minds of Black people. People having people who are close to them who are Black that have felt like they had to keep these things inside because the platforms and the spaces are not created where we can safely say we're hurting, we're confused, we're fearful for our lives. We literally carry this weight on our shoulders every day. That has not been allowed. We haven't been allowed to do that. I can't remember the last time I've been in a space where I literally felt comfortable saying something like that. And so, I just feel like being silent, even as a Black community, has gotten us nowhere. No one is hearing us. When these things happen and we are yelling it, shouting it from the mountaintops, only Black people are posting these things because, to be really honest, okay, because I've been Black my whole life, okay? Every time these things happen, this is one of the first times that I've seen so many white people actually have something to say, right? Mm-hmm. So many white people actually posting things and saying things, but there's a whole lot of past. We got a whole lot of history. This didn't just start in 2020. 2020 is not the culprit. It's been years and years and years and years and years, my entire life, okay? And so I just feel like there's so many times that we've tried to be silent. We've tried to be peaceful about it. Black people have been posting these things every single time they happen. But for some reason now people are listening, which is fine. I'm happy people are listening finally. But we're not just going to be like quiet about it. We're not just going to be like whispering about it. Like, no, we need to shout this from the mountaintops. You need to hear us. You need to see us, okay? Because we are no longer just going to allow it to happen. We're no longer going to allow it to happen. And I'm sorry, but I think that if it's like, it could go many ways. Like, I get it. Yes, a lot of people are going to think, oh, like Black people are, these people who are looting and protesting, blah, 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 they're barbaric. Miss me with that. at the end of the day, the reason for the loudness of this, the reason for the loudness is that if you as Karen, right, if you have not heard our post, you haven't heard our cries, you didn't hear George Floyd screaming and asking for his mom and asking for his, life and asking for mercy in that moment, if you didn't hear that, clearly that wasn't loud enough for you, right? So maybe when you picking up the pieces of the business that was broken down, maybe then you'll have to be confronted with it. And that's the thing, is that people are not understanding that the protesting wouldn't be happening if people would recognize what's happening. If you like, the protesting would never have started if 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 non-black people were allowing themselves to be confronted with what's going on, and they were continuing to be confronted with what's going on, and stop denying it, stop trying to ignore it, stop compartmentalizing it, stop trying to be comfortable all the time, have the uncomfortable conversations. We have uncomfortable conversations all the time. I feel like it happens often. I don't really know why this specific one is an issue, but we wouldn't have to be so loud, and people wouldn't have to be protesting if people simply would listen. Yeah. Like, we've been saying this for years. It's been being said. And
I don't get it either. I don't understand, like, how 100%. How many times do you think about the friendships that you have, people that you have in your life or whatnot? How many times we talk about difficult shit, right? This is no different. And the fact that you're silent on it, you are making it different. Bring it up. Speak about it. I don't really think that my podcast is like, I have like 30 listeners, and they're probably all like close family and friends, right? But it's the only platform I have that I feel comfortable in, right? Because I don't use social media like that. But I'm using it now for that. But I feel like whatever is uncomfortable to you, don't care. I don't care. I'm not sorry. Oh, there you go. Sorry. I'm not sorry. Right? That is where I am at on it, because, every single person has had to look at, and I mean, in all honesty, I think that it may be a little bit uncomfortable for you. I know it's been a little bit uncomfortable for me to have to sit back and look and evaluate some of these people that are around me. Right? But it's happening. It's being done. I'm uncomfortable just being this open and honest. I'm always had these conversations, not necessarily, I wouldn't say in private, but in my circles, but being this open and honest with the world, right? But it's happening. Get over your own discomfort. If you take anything away from listening to this, because I feel like we've been rambling for a long time, and I'm actually real tired. I feel like if you take anything away from this, it is to get over your own discomfort, because there are things that are more important at stake than how comfortable you feel on your couch eating your banana nut bread. If you have people of color in your life, you've got some work to do. If you don't, you've got some work to do. If you are a person of color, we've been working and we will continue to have work to do, right? Because this is not going away. I think you are a fool if you believe that things will get better overnight, and you are a fool if you believe that this is going to get better before it gets worse. And so there is no luxury of time. Get over your discomfort, open your eyes, crack a book, hit a hashtag, read something. And if you can't read, turn on the audio and have it read back to you, right? There's plenty of things that you could do to acquire the knowledge that you need to ease some of your discomfort as you try and navigate through what you can do next to do your part. But get out of your own way and get over your own discomfort, because if nothing else, this is about humans treating other humans like humans. And it's that black and white to me. It really is. And so I think in other areas, people talk politics, people talk pandemics or whatever. I mean, I could see both sides, I guess. I can see like gray in here. I see some highlights to this action. I can see how this might be extreme over here. This to me is a purely, which there are rare things in the world that are 100% black and white. This, however, is not one of them. It is 100% black and white. It is 100% right and wrong. And I feel like if for me, somebody who is not my normal comfort level of expression, if I can do it, come on now. I just I don't know what tomorrow looks like, you know? It's a weird thing, you know? I know you know because we are planners. We prepare. I got my whole next 5 months planned out, okay? And I don't know what tomorrow looks like. And it's a really scary thought if you think about it.
Yeah.
Not knowing what your orbit looks like. I like that word. I know I'm stuck on that. Same thing when I was on that head thing I was saying earlier. I don't know. I get stuck on phrases, but orbit I think seems to be my one that keeps coming through. I don't know what tomorrow looks like, and that's a very worrying kind of scary thought. But tomorrow I know where you stand, and I feel like I have support. I know where my fiance stands, and I have support. I know where my mother stands, and I have support. And I know that I've done my best to stay informed and to stay taking action the best way that I can, and to continually check in on my family and friends who are grieving right now. And that's enough for me for right now.
Yeah.
I can't necessarily say that I feel better from talking about all of this, but I don't feel worse.
Yeah, I mean, I think that everybody needs to realize that this is not a black people against white people fight. This is an everybody against racists fight. Okay? Everybody against racism fight. And I think that people think so surface level sometimes that they don't realize that. You don't realize that this is not it's not a it's not a black and white issue. Like, my boyfriend is white and he's fine and I love him. Okay? Like, we good. But like, if you have never had to think about, and he brought this up for his, like, you know, he's never previously had to think about possibly not, like how he feels about bringing black children into this world, because that's what he'll be doing. And I'm like, if you've never had to think about that, like if you've never had to rethink having kids because you don't want them to be killed in the streets one day, you're privileged. You are exactly what we're talking about, and that's why people are so uncomfortable, and people need to make uncomfortability their job, like their life depended on it, because my life depends on it. My kids' life depends on it. No matter how light skinned they are, they still got this brown, beautiful skin in their genes. And so they are going to be black. And at the end of the day, please, I implore everyone to please help me make sure my kids are not killed in the streets. And that's all I'm asking, that's all we're asking. And so, like, I just think that, if you are uncomfortable, it is because you probably have some things within yourself that you need to work out, right? You need to, but they're never going to get worked out if you don't exercise that muscle, right? We work out, people work out, you go to the gym, and the first time you've gone to the gym after however long, usually the day after, you're sore. I'm not saying it's not going to be painful. I'm not saying it's not going to be hard. I'm not saying that it's not going to be rough after you start to get into this thing and start having some uncomfortable conversations. But the thing is that us black people, like, and I cannot speak for every black person, because some people are genuinely tired of having to educate people, right?
Mm-hmm.
I am speaking for myself when I say that if you are a friend of mine and you have questions and you have concerns and you need to process things outwardly, you need to talk to someone and kind of figure out what is this thing that's inside of you, like, why do you feel so uncomfortable? I'm totally here to help. have no problem having those conversations. But I think that it's, you know, attribute it to what happens when you go to the gym. When you go back to the gym after not working out for a long time, it's uncomfortable, but you keep going. You have to keep going because that's the only, you can't go to the gym one time and lose weight. Who does that? And if somebody has figured out that hack, please let me know. But I don't think that that's the case. You don't go to the
Right.
gym for one time and lose weight. You don't go to the gym one time and have a six pack. It takes work. It takes consistent uncomfortability. Some people even go as far as paying money for a trainer. And the last time I checked these trainer prices, I was like, that's a no for me. But people are out here paying crazy money for trainers, but you won't do something as simple as read a book to find out where in your own soul there might be some racial bias, and that might be why you're so uncomfortable and have such a problem with the word privilege, and that you need to work that out outwardly, right? And so I think that people need to stop thinking about this as it's really not as painful. It's not more painful than things we do on a regular basis. Because me personally,
Right.
I think if you think that having a racial conversation is more painful than going to the gym and working out, then that is some serial killer shit right there. That's crazy. That's wild crazy. Because no thank you. That is excruciating to me. So I would rather have a conversation, an uncomfortable conversation any day before I go to the gym. So here we are. And I just need people to start thinking about it that way. You know, of
Mm-hmm.
course it's going to be uncomfortable, but anybody who has consistently gone to the gym, they go to the gym regularly and they don't feel pain every single time. Like their muscles start to harden, you start to become stronger, you start to build up endurance. And that is the point, is we need more non-Black people doing those things, going to the racial gym. Go to the racial gym for me, please, and continue to build up endurance and strength so that you can have these conversations in your communities, in your orbit, since that's the word we're using. Have these conversations in your orbit so that people are woke. People wake up, people are aware, and people know what's going on. And everybody's going to be better for it. This conversation is not going to make anybody worse. This is only going to make things better. So like, people have to start having these conversations. Have to start having these conversations. Have to start educating themselves, reading books, and you know, even if you do decide to take on the 30-day challenge of posting about racial bias in this country for a minimum of once for the next 30 days, you will learn a lot through that.
Right.
Just reading captions, literally at minimum reading that, you will learn things. And so I just implore everybody to do that. And if there's one thing I want to come out of this conversation, it is that's all the Black community is asking for. Here we are.
I really wish I had had that wine. I know.
I didn't plan on it, but my fine white boyfriend, he said it right here because he knew that this conversation was happening.
No. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you too, bestie.
You know, it would be nice to have to only worry about COVID-19 and planning my wedding, you know. But there are some other things that are more important. So I just feel like hopefully one of the 35 people that listens to this take something away from it and take something away from it, not getting stuck too much on internalizing just where they might be falling short. Let's not dwell. If you hear this and you feel that maybe you have fallen short, let's just move forward and do something more. Let's just be better, right? I think take what we've talked about, take the next steps, do what we're asking, check in, right? And do better. I don't need apologies. I don't need acknowledgement. I don't need for you to sit and internalize and feel guilt and shame over what you think may be perceived on our end as your failure. I just need for you to take the core pieces of this conversation and then go out there and do better. That's really all I care. And since some people seem to be stuck, like you said, hopefully this helps and gives you a direction to kind of go into. And if not, go eat your bread, Karen. But I'm gonna go to sleep because Liam's gonna be up at 5 a.m.
Okay.
and it's been a long day. But tomorrow will be better, right? Here's hoping.
Hopefully.
Okay.
Bye,
Bye.
friend.
Bye.